The world of Warcraft, the largest and most well-known MMO to ever exist, and one that I spent most of my school days playing. There's so much to do that you could play non-stop for months and never accomplish everything. Want a quest? Go for it. Want a PvP? We have arenas, battlegrounds, the whole shebang. Want to get a large group together and challenge in-game content? Got you covered. Heck, do you want to be the very best like no one ever was and play Pokemon? Well, freaking go ahead. So why did I stop playing World of Warcraft? Let's go to the beginning. I mostly played from vanilla through to Wrath, then came back for a bit during Cataclysm. From there I stopped until I got an email from the kind folks at Blizzard letting me know that they had graced my account with a free copy of Mists of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor. Heck, they even gave me a free week to play and try it out. Not one to scoff at such an opportunity, I jumped in and even bought another month once that week was up. But that was it. Until a year passed. I got the itch, I bought another month, then stopped. And well, I haven't been back since. I've now been given a free copy of Legion, and Battle for Azeroth has released, but I don't really want to go back. I love this game. I love making characters, I love flying around, and most importantly, I love checking out all the stuff that I never had the dedication to do. But I'm not a raider. I don't care about endgame content, and getting together with a large group to learn bosses and phases, and grinding for better gear is painful to me. But I love playing in the world. Alone. In fact, the first raiding I ever did was in Warlords when I tried out the looking for group raid menu. And it was fine. I ran through each area, got some gear, got some rewards, finished my legendary ring, and I don't regret doing it. But it didn't draw me in. I have one primary main that I spend time with, and then just a metric butt ton of alts who I spend an hour with here or there. If I ever get them to max level, I just abandon them and leave them to concentrate on other characters. There's no one right way to play, but there is one philosophy I subscribe to which tends to have some vocal opposition, and that's simply, don't punish people for how they want to play. People are welcome to disagree with me, but the best example I can think of for explaining this is flying. When flying was added to the game, it was either hit or miss. Some players love it while others believe it trivializes large aspects of the game. Blizzard has tried time and again to fix flying, which we saw in Warlords and subsequent expansions by tying it to the Pathfinder achievement. Do you want to be able to fly? Then you need to explore everything, do all major story quests, grind reputation with the Tanan factions, collect 100 treasures, and complete 12 specific Apexis dailies. Sounds like an ordeal, right? Or maybe a goal to work towards? To me, it's a stupid and tedious system that forces players to experience all the content that the expansion has to offer. But is it a positive experience? Not really. Personally, I'd explore, collect treasures, and do the main story, but I absolutely abhor grinding reputation and doing dailies. I can't stand it, but if I want to level up all my alts through Warlords, then the convenience of flying outweighs my disdain. But even then, it's not a good thing. There's a piece written by Raph Koster, who worked on Star Wars Galaxies, linked in the description below, that talks about unlocking Jedi. The short version is that they tied unlocking Jedi, a class that people wanted, to a series of randomized skills. What this created was a situation where people stopped playing the way they wanted in order to grind out the skills they needed to unlock the class. According to him, this was the beginning of the player base decline. People who had previously been playing the way they wanted and were having fun suddenly started playing in ways they felt obligated to in order to receive a reward, and it ultimately pushed them away from the game entirely. That's what flying is. People who want to do pet battles, or level alts, or dungeon run over and over, or rush to endgame content are suddenly forced to stop playing the way they want so that they can grind out something they need but which ruins their enjoyment so that they can go back to playing the way they want. It sounds insane, but what's the fix? Honestly, go back to the Burning Crusade when it was first introduced and have it cost gold. You know what that Pokemon trainer gets for completing their dailies, beating other trainers, or selling their captured pets on the auction house? Gold. You know what that hardcore raider gets for beating bosses, or the grinder gets for killing mobs? Gold. The reward for every player playing the way they want, whether it's killing mobs, training professions, or anything, becomes gold. Why shouldn't these people have access to flying? I've heard the argument that if they don't do those, then they'll run out of new content and have nothing to do, and really? So instead of doing what they've been doing for weeks, months, or even years, they instead need to do a bunch of stuff that makes them miserable because they might have nothing to do? Honestly, it seems to me that paying a monthly subscription for something that is actively making you miserable is more likely to be a cause to stop you from playing. You shouldn't punish players for playing in the way that is most fun for them. So what do I love doing? Well, initially I spent most of my time leveling, then once I hit max level I went to Alterac Valley. I adored vanilla AV, even though as Horde we lost most of the time. Heck, I was even there when we managed to summon Lokala the Ice Lord once, and only once. Those day-long turtles holed up in our base, keeping them on the ramp and trying to protect our last graveyard flag are memories that I'll never forget. Unfortunately, the changes they made to make them end faster killed my enjoyment, and my tastes have also changed with age. There's a study done by Quantic Foundry, which I linked below, which states that as gamers age, their desire to compete decreases. It's been a long time since WoW was released, and the player base has aged. The average gamer age is now 35. They have jobs, families, and less time to spend playing. Why would they want to spend time on something they aren't enjoying? Maybe this is part of the reason for the introduction of War Mode and the end of PvP servers. I don't know. Maybe the WoW population is just outgrowing the desire to fight people in the world aside from specifically designed battlegrounds or arenas. Personally, when I'm flying through the world, I spend less time dive-bombing opposing faction players and more time one-shotting whatever they're fighting, trying to help instead. I like waving at them, then flying off again to do whatever I was in the process of doing. To get back on track, I don't have one specific thing I enjoy doing. I've traveled the world capturing some Pokemon, I've done some LFR raiding, and I leveled alts by chaining dungeons over and over. I've had alts get ganked in spawn camps, mostly at Thrallmar, but I just switch chars and do something else. There's a wealth of things to enjoy in this game. So what killed it for me? Well, it all starts with my main hitting the level cap, which for me, since I only ever had Warlords even when Legion was released, means 100. Actually, quick side rant. You know what's hot garbage? The fact that you shell out $50 for an expansion and it doesn't even come with a free month of playtime. How stupid is that? You buy a game full price, then you have to shell out an additional $15 to actually play it. And I'm from Canada, so it's actually $63 with another $19 on top. Giving that free month is a great incentive for newer returning players, and hey, a nice thing to do for your player base who have diligently kept their subscriptions up over the years. It's the stupid online pass again, except you've bought a new copy, not a used one. Remember online passes? That crappy practice where if you bought a used game copy from GameStop and wanted to access the online aspects, you had to shell out for an online passcode to get them? No, you don't, because it only lasted 3 years before everyone was sick of it. What a great time in our history. Anyway, I get my main to the level cap doing quests, and I try to run through every dungeon once to experience them. Once I hit that cap, I'll do the same with the raid system and just go through each section once so I can actually see them, but then I don't really ever go back. Somewhere in here I also spend God knows how many brutal hours grinding Reputation for freaking flying. I still remember getting flying in Draenor. Ready for this? I'd finally pestered my guildmates enough to scrape a group of 5 together to run through Fangrelau over and over to get my Reputation finished. I even had a calculator open so I knew exactly how many I needed to kill before I was finished. I hit that number, got on my flying mount, and never went back. I wasn't happy or ecstatic to have done it. I was just glad the grind was done and I could do what I wanted. How about that? I'd finally accomplished my goal of getting flying and I wasn't even happy. I was relieved. Once I've experienced that content, I'm content to go on my way and do other things. I like going back to old expansions and finishing all the quests in those areas. I like to run through old raids. As I said, I'm not a hardcore raider. It doesn't appeal to me, so instead I run through all the old raids that I missed out on and try to collect the items that were once amazing, but are now worthwhile only for the Transmog. In fact, I love the Transmog system. It ties in perfectly with how I like to play. Now I can collect all those old tier item sets on my characters and have them added to my collection without needing to actually keep them in the bank. Unfortunately, last I played I needed to be the proper class to have it added, so if I ran through on my Warlock and got a priest item, even though I could wear it, it didn't get added. Maybe this has changed now? I don't know. Either way, this included if I ran through with my Paladin, I couldn't unlock any of the wrong class plate, or the mail, leather, or cloth. I mean, is it really so bad to have some skins unlocked through that? Is it hurting anyone? What killed the enjoyment for me was the fact that I decided to try and get Sulfuras, Hand of Ragnaros for my Shaman. I went out, grinded Reputation with the Grim Guzzler, and started trying to get all the mass together. Except this level 60 raid that can be easily soloed and has no drops of any real value are still restricted to once a week. So then I started running Black Temple on my Warlock for some sets as well, but then that was also locked. I finally ended up running through every raid I could manage on my character because it felt like if I didn't, then I wasted that week. Did I? Not really, and it's my own problem, but again this video is about my feelings and why I stopped playing. I resented the fact that I could only run these raids, which took 10 minutes once a week and only had a small percentage of getting the pieces I wanted. And if I did get them, well, my character didn't become any stronger. I just got a skin checked off the list and then it got sold to a vendor. This isn't like I was crawling through the highest tier raids trying to become the most powerful Warlock. What made it worse was that when I was done with my Warlock, I ran through it up with my Paladin, Rogue, Hunter, and Shaman, and if I got the Warlock drop, it felt bad since I got what I wanted only on the wrong character, and it was even more worthless than it normally is. So fine, I'd stop and just level some ults. I do love my ults after all. Look at all these ults. And it was fun. I loved jumping in the queue and just stomping through dungeons in the heirloom gear that I had shelled up my thousands of gold for. Nearly all the money I'd accumulated with my Warlock went towards heirloom gear, and it was around this time my month of playtime expired. This was the end of December 2017, I think. I thought about getting another month, but I was also on the fence because Legion had been out for a while and I figured that Blizzard would give it to me for free pretty soon, so I could just hold out for a few more months and I'd be fine. Luckily, I keep some characters permanently at level 20 so that if this happened, I could always jump into some dungeon queuing to scratch the itch. I got to play and didn't have a long queue time since I was a tank, and people got tanks. Win-win. So I spawn in its Wailing Caverns. Seemed normal enough. I mean, that's generally the dungeon you're thrown into at level 20. I didn't care about money or XP, I just wanted to play. But immediately our healer and 1 DPS left. Huh, that's weird, I thought. I mean, our group usually cleared this in about 20 minutes. Yeah, it's a long instance since we need to do the escort segment, but it's not that bad. We wait a few minutes, got new players, and start. I run in and aggro a bunch of dinosaurs. And we wipe. Huh, weird, I thought. I'll take it a bit slower and do one group at a time. So onwards we marched, killing a group at a time, but it seemed to be taking a lot longer than I remembered, and I was dealing a lot less damage too. I finally asked the question of what was going on in chat, something that's never done in Dungeon Queue. You just go through and leave. And was told they changed the system. That'll teach me to not read patch updates and just play the game. It was now that I noticed that our healer was actually level 53. And not only that, but they'd nerfed things so that all fights took longer. It took us nearly 45 minutes to finish Wailing Caverns, where it previously took at most 20 minutes. It was an ordeal. The fights weren't more complex. I was using the same skills I had always used, but everything had slowed to a crawl. It felt terrible. Supposedly Blizzard had buffed XP to account for this, but for my trial character who was already sitting at the max of 10 whole gold and couldn't gain any more XP, it just felt bad. My enjoyment had been crippled. I suddenly didn't want to wait for Legion to be free because I didn't want to level any more alts. It was a grind, and I didn't want to collect more heirloom pieces since they didn't make things any faster. In fact, I didn't want to play at all. I uninstalled and haven't been back since. There are many reasons people have put forward to the change. I mean, you can believe what you want, but for me, a cynic, seems to me that it's just greed. World of Warcraft is an old game. A great game, but old. Established players had more money than they knew what to do with, and with each expansion they got further away from a new player. I'd be interested to know how many max level characters these established players have, but I'd easily believe they have at least 2. Heck, with me being restricted to warlords, I was sitting at 5 level 100s. The incentive for new players to join the game is negligible. Sure, Blizzard awards you a character boost, but by using it you're thrown into the deep end, and learning from the ground up just takes too dang long. I'm willing to bet the influx of brand new players to the game is so small that the only characters being leveled are alts, and by slowing everything down, Blizzard wants to push more of those sweet, sweet boosts. Well, they managed to push me out of the game, so it accomplished something at least. Anyway, I made this video because I saw that Blizzard had released allied races. Some people say they're just sloppy reskins, but to me I loved the idea of it. I wanted them. 8 new alts, each with a new skin. I was psyched. This may actually make me come back to the game. Sure, I need to shell out full price for the expansion and not be given any game time for my purchase, but I could suck it up. I'm a grown man after all. But being who I am, I decided to do some research first, and what I saw was not promising. From what I gathered, all allied races require you to be exalted with their faction in order to unlock it. So you need to do their quest line, which is honestly perfectly fine to me. I love the idea of that. You finish their storyline, you help them out, and your reward is that it unlocks the allied race you want. But unfortunately it then falls off a cliff. You finish the story quest and it's not enough. You need to do dailies for them, and grind rep. And some of the races are Legion based, so I'd need to grind in Legion, but I need BFA to be able to do them. So in order to play any alts, I'd first need to quest through Legion to 110, then either stop and grind, or quest through to BFA, then stop and double grind. Also, I could have a different skin character, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't bear going into the game and paying for the privilege of doing all the stuff I hated the most in the game to unlock my fabled Jedi class. And that's why I stopped playing the World of Warcraft.